Welcome everybody to Educators Circle with Dr. Lisa. And today, this Thursday's Transformation Leader feature is Mrs. Sarah Fortney, a board member at Polk County School System. I stumbled on Sarah recently through somebody who told me that she was an amazing force and had so much influence in the community. And I found out why. It's because she started out as a teacher and over the years wanted to become more of a transformational person and decided that she was going to position herself in a place where she could be of most influence and most impactful, that transformation person. And as you know, if you are in the field of education, you are called to be a transformational person. So Sarah, tell us about your background. We have listeners across the nation that are educators in all different fields. We have teachers, principals, assistant principals, people who work in the maintenance field, and we have board members. So I know they'll love to hear your journey.
Thank you so much. I so enjoyed our conversation. Just a little background. Back in the day when I was in public schools, I was born and raised in Melbourne, and I graduated from Melbourne High School in the late 70s. And I always wanted to be a teacher. I would teach out in our backyard, weather. And as life turned, I managed to do that and accomplish that. And I ended up in Polk County because my sister, who is also a transformational leader, had already got her first job here in Polk County. So the plan was for me to live with her and go to school, which I did. Go Bulls, USF. So anyways, I got my first job in Polk County and realized real quick that as a science teacher, the most important thing in the classroom was relationships. And building those relationships, not just with your kids, but your colleagues, your immediate supervisors, etc. So I learned that lesson early and had a lot of parent support in the classroom. Loved that journey. Every place I taught, I ended up being that leader. I was science department head. I was leadership. But never really wanted to be a principal. You know, my control was in my room. And then just a geographical lesson for everybody. Polk County is in the center of the state of Florida. And we have a high poverty clientele. We have working families, work 2 and 3 jobs. And so my leadership ability was to help those kids be successful. And we touch 11 counties. That's how the center of the state. And I think when, if you look at what happened Monday at our education rally, it showed that our teachers, that's our biggest strength. They care. Our bus drivers care. Our administrators care. And you can't put a price tag on that. So as my journey continued, I've taught in A schools and F schools because we grade our schools publicly. So I went to an F school and followed a transformational leader by the name of Dr. Linda Joyce Ray. And I was there a year. And after that year, the state came in and basically said that we are replacing you and demoting you. And I knew right then I had to step out of my comfort zone. And I decided to run for school board. And I ran for about 1.5 years while I taught. I actually taught through the Friday that I was sworn in on that Tuesday. And the reason I think that is so important is because now I feel like instead of just controlling my classroom, I have an input on a much larger scale. And that larger scale, I've learned a lot, but my heart is still in that classroom, which I think every decision that is made needs to reflect that motivation. And I know that we have folks that have never been in a classroom making decisions. So my message is to stand up and speak out and become that transformational leadership change. If that is something that every employee in our district is a leader in some way. Our bus drivers are the first ones who see our kids every morning and the last ones to see them at night. Our custodial staff, they are the ones that greet people usually at the front door of our schools. I just feel like that if it's in your heart, it can happen.
What we hear you describing about transformational leadership that you literally embodied, some of the things that you've shared with our audience, we have superintendents listening to this, and they will tell you, those who are transformational leaders, the same thing. My heart is still in that classroom. I love that you said that. That is what we all, as transformational leaders, are thinking about. The general idea is finding ways to impact that classroom and to help that teacher, support that teacher, come alongside that teacher, and to help them to have the resources and the tools they need to really make a life impact on that child and each other within the profession. And I love that you said that you followed a leader from an A school to an F school. You were attracted to a transformational leader because you knew that that person was about what you were about.
Absolutely.
It didn't matter whether you were at a school that was known to be high performing, because when we were getting to know one another over the phone, we were talking yesterday, there were some things that you said that really resonated about the grading system and how the schools are rated do not reflect the true level of effectiveness in those classrooms with the teachers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, having been the classroom teacher that was in a testable subject, science, even back in the days of the FCAT, which was our state test, we gave that test to 11th graders for science. And it did not count for their graduation. It was simply a way to punish teachers, because it really didn't count, if you will. I moved to 8th grade. That's how I ended up at the A school, because they started giving high school credit for 8th grade science, because we were basically teaching the same thing course-wise. So when you get a letter grade of an A, and that's what I want to tell all parents, that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, it's a plane.
Do you live near the airport, Sarah? I know. This is my studio is in Homosassa.
Oh,
so
cool.
There's no sound here. I love this.
Except birds.
When I'm in Tampa, oh my goodness, where my mother lives, I can't do any studio broadcasting there because she lives right by the airport.
Okay, right.
It's like, and you can literally see the planes.
It took off.
Right there.
It's moving along.
Anyway.
There's science everywhere, and that's
Yes.
really, even as the state would come in at my failing school, I'm going to rephrase that, at the graded F school.
Right.
They would
the way it was described is what you mean. Yes.
Yes. They would come into my classroom and ask me, what is your vision? What is your whatever? And they wanted me to teach to the standards and do their little dog and pony show. And my response was, my goal every day is for kids to love science as much as I do. Yes. And they really didn't like that answer, because the test and punish system really has diminished the love of learning. And now we have, guess what? Mental health issues. The highest suicide rate of any group of people is our students. All of this it's science. It's, if this happens, then this happens. And this is why, that was the prediction, that was the hypothesis. And guess what? It has, it's become fact. Did I answer your question?
Well, you've said so much there in that little bit of time. I really think that we are missing something when we don't see why children do not love school. And if they don't love school, they're not going to have an attitude towards learning. They're not going to put the effort towards learning. So somehow we've got to marry the need to have high achievement with what the children love and how to teach so that they love what they're doing. Now, earlier you were talking, we have listeners all across the nation, and many do not know what's going on with the rally. You alluded to the teacher rally and how you knew that was evidence the teachers in Polk County cared because of how they responded in that rally just a few days ago. Tell the rest of the nation what's going on in Florida with the teacher rally in Tallahassee and that
Well, our leaders, and I'm not calling them transformational leaders, our leaders in Tallahassee who think they know what's best have continuously sent down mainly unfunded mandates. I'll give you one example. Due to circumstances beyond our control and trying to compete at a high level, our public schools receive approximately $45 million for transportation from the state, when in fact it cost us almost $70 million to do that task. These are things that I think the public needs to be aware of. So that extra money is what we could be using to reinforce great teaching and great bus drivers and great maintenance folks, because that money comes out of our general fund, which is what we use to pay our people.
Right.
And then the other thing they don't really understand is now they're starting on this pre-K bandwagon. We are starting to test kids they're not even in kindergarten yet. And they have to have computer skills. We have to have computers to teach them those skills. I have a very, very, very wonderful teacher at one of our supposed failing schools who sent me this: purposeful play. You know, that's what we're missing. Instead of testing these kids and creating this mental health issue, starting before they even know their colors. You know, and I'm going to go back again to our poverty level in Polk County. Parents working 2-3 jobs that are minimum wage. Yeah, jobs are great. I have 3 of them. You know, that's kind of the thing. And, you know, our workforce is struggling to be everything to those kids.
And yes, thank you. And as we close our time today, I wanted our listeners to know to check the article out. We're going to be writing a lot of good content based on what Sarah's transformational experience has been throughout her career. And as we said in the beginning, right now, even though she's a certified teacher and has spent years in the classroom, she wanted to make bigger transformation because she saw what was happening within her area of service. And particularly, she saw that transformational leader making a difference that wasn't treated fairly. That person was demoted, even though that person was a high-performing transformational leader because of the politics in that circumstance. So those transformational leaders across the nation, Sarah, how would you encourage them to do what they believe, even though sometimes the circumstances or the outcomes or some type of consequence politically may come against them? How can we encourage them to still do what they believe and to know that essentially God is the higher authority and that they will be given their honor in one way or another, regardless of whether they're recognized?
Well, you know, I just feel like if you stand up and speak out for the public schools, we just do it better. And if you find something even in your own situation, we need to message that. We need to message that we do more with less every day. And standing up and speaking out doesn't necessarily have to be a negative. It can be a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Stand up and speak out. Support your local schools at the shopping center. When you are shopping for groceries, don't let the negativity outshine what really goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And what really goes on is our teachers in particular stand up and speak out for their students every day. They sure don't do it for the money.
Right.
So if you are
Absolutely.
in a position to run for an office, to be a part of a decision-making group, to lead at a school, to lead in your community, to lead at your church, to lead wherever, and that is in your heart, just do it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This has been amazing. I know everyone's going to love this, and we hope that in closing, Sarah has told us, do whatever it is, and keep that heart still in the classroom.
There you
This
go.
has been Educator Circle with Dr. Lisa and Sarah Fortney, for educators who love their work and want to get better.